Hello and welcome back to Pandemic Playground with Dave. So today we have another wheel experiment for you guys. As you've seen my previous experiment videos, you've seen rotor wheels, you see suspension rotor head wheels, and random wheels that I made with random blocks and items. But today we're going to play around with connector wheels. Alright, so with all the experimenting with wheels, I randomly decided to do this with connectors, and that is creating it with a wheel. So basically how my thought process is that if you unlock them, you can kind of have it rotate as long as you have a strong enough strength connected to them. So I made this small little rover that has pretty much 4 connectors on the base. And then the wheels has a connector, a battery, and a wheel. So how it's set up, we also have a thruster and some gyroscopes to move it around. So this experiment to see if it works. And I gotta say, I tried it a little bit and it does move, but I don't know how fast it can go before it starts breaking everything and what other options we could possibly use. Putting these together was a real big pain, but of course, we're here to test out how it works. Alright, so if I'm going into the settings of the vehicle itself, the connectors that are on the base, which is the vehicle itself, not attached to the wheels, the connectors are at a strength of 100, which it doesn't have to be. I think I played around with 20%, it's more than enough. And each individual wheel, as for these guys here, these could be set at 20% as well. I think you could probably set them at 10% also, and it should be okay. But let's work with a smaller number first before we go big with the 100% to see how things go. So I'm going to switch everything to 20% strength on the connector here. Alright, so we have 20% here, 20% on this one, and we're pretty much set. So how is this going to work? So I have it set up. We have some pistons just to kind of lift it up a little bit if we need to, as you see there. 2 is my connectors to lock it and unlock it. Ideally, I do not press that button at all. I should probably take that off my toolbar, because once I lock and then unlock, that's where it gets difficult. For now, I also have my thruster on thruster override, increase and decrease. So how fast can we go with this vehicle? I'm not sure, but with the gyros, you see how it rotates? It's actually not too bad, as you see there. If I move left and right, the connectors are nice and loose, and it just kind of gives the ability to rotate. Alright, so next thing to do is, of course, see if it goes. So if we increase the override thrusting, even at like, let's see, right around there, a little bouncy. Oh, let's slow it down a little bit. But it drives fairly well. We don't get a lot of meters per second, as you see there. But if we increase the speed slowly, let's see if it kind of works out or not. So we're only at like close to 10 meters per second, and I'm just gonna keep increasing it. So the more I increase it, the faster it's going slowly. It's not as quickly as I want it. So what happens if I max out the thrust? So it looks like maxing out the thrust, I only get about 12. It's hitting 14 meters per second. So that's interesting that it's not going as fast as I thought it would. So I can still control it left and right, as you see here, if I wanted to turn. If I wanted to stop, I would just turn off my thrusting overrides. But as you see here, this kind of works. The speed I'm getting is not significant for whatever reason. So let's stop this really quick and see if we add on a fatter or bigger thruster, see if that makes a difference. Alright, so I added a large atmosphere thruster in the back now. Let's get this set up. We can potentially do thrust override, increase and decrease again. Just gonna be here, and let's see how fast it goes down. So we can, it's a lot faster, to be honest. Okay, so let's just do it slowly so we don't mess this up too bad. And I think we can increase it a lot more. Oh, there you go. Oh no. Now I just have thrust in the back. Now I have nothing in the back. Alright, so it looked like it topped out about 40 meters per second before it pretty much blew up the whole entire thing. So it looks like you cannot go too fast with these connector wheels, which is unfortunate because they actually seem to work out pretty cool. So let's go on to the next test. Alright, so for the next test, I have this here. And instead of using a thruster to move it, we're going to use gyros to move it. So the gyros actually allow this to rotate because it's not even a connected grid at all, as you see here. So with this system, I think these are set at 100% as well. Yes, they are. So again, let's just do a little looser. Let's just do 20% on these guys here, and we can test out if it makes a difference between 20% versus a 50% versus 100% in a bit. But in terms of the connectors, for now, let's just do 20% on each one. Alright, so we are set at 20% in magnetism, gravity, or whatever it's called. It is actually called strength. And we have our gyro spinning at 5 or -5. Let's see. Our gyro is at -5 RPMs on a pitch to move forward. So it's a little slow crawl, but we'll just leave it as that. The best way to control this is going to be drop the piston. Once it hits the floor, it should slowly roll, as you see here. This is fun, but the worst part about this is that you can't do anything in terms of increasing speed or decreasing speed easily. So I can easily rotate and move this, let it roll automatically. I can't stop it. Why? Because none of these are connected, so I can't control any of them. So the only way to control them is if I lock them together, but if I unlock them, it actually kind of blows up when it connects back. So that's the biggest issue. So if I want to increase the speed here, you kind of have to do it manually by lifting up the piston, change each individual tire, or just change them as you're moving around. But if you want to see how fast we can go, I think we can do this. And that's actually just lift up the piston and go to each individual wheel and increase the pitch override. So we go to like 60 RPMs here. And it's starting to rock a bit, so that's not as good as I want it to be. I think if we do it quick enough, we should be okay. It's a little nerve-wracking trying to do this quickly as possible before it breaks. I really don't want it to break. Come on, let's go. Gyroscope. 60. Alright, done. We have on 60 in each one. We could drop our pistons down and see how fast this thing goes. So, actually, that's not too bad. It's going as fast as kind of the small atmospheric thrusters in terms of the weight, because of the weight and everything like that. But again, there's no control of this thing. I can't stop it. The only way to stop it is probably lifting up my pistons. But right now, it's just going to go forward and I can't do anything about it. Nothing's breaking because it's going at only 8 meters per second. So that's not too bad. But concept-wise, it works. You can actually make a rotor system too with the connector and a gyro system. So if you have an idea of that, instead of using a rotor, here you go. So let's see if we can stop this thing actually. So let's hit the pistons to bring it up. And not too bad. It did work. And it's just wobbling here, and we're gonna just leave it as that, and let's move on to the next one. Alright, so the next test is, of course, why just use a small grid with a small grid wheel when we can obviously go big and do this. Alright, so what I did here is basically use the same base that I used before with the small grid. That's this here with the extension in the back, because the wheels are ginormous, of course, because these are actually large grid 3x3 wheels. So what I did here is basically attach and connected large grid connectors with a large battery, or a regular battery it's called, with large wheels, just to see if that works. And I'm sure these are at 20% connection. Yep, these are 20% connections. So everything's set at 20%, even these little, not little, the large grid ones These connectors are set at 20%. We have a large atmosphere thruster, a whole bunch of gyros, and with a whole bunch of gyros, we can move them pretty freely left and right without any problems. And we have same setup on the bottom with the thrusting override, or thruster override, increase and decrease. So let's see how fast this can go before it blows up or breaks. So I think a sweet spot is around 8 to 10 meters per second, usually for most things rotating in a weird way. So here, we're going to bring it up slowly. We're hitting 8 meters per second, 9, 10. Nothing's broken yet. 11, doing good so far. 12. And I think here we hit 12. So let's increase this a little bit more. A little bit more. And it's still hitting, almost hitting 13. There we go, 13. Let's get going a little bit more. We're going to pump it up a little bit gradually higher and quicker. Alright, so we hit 14 meters per second. I think we capped out on batteries is the problem here. So let's see how much more to go. So we could do a lot more, but we are capped out on battery. And we're going at 15 meters per second roughly. And it's actually going pretty well. That is not too bad. So let me put some more batteries on here, just to see if we go any faster. Alright, I put one battery for the small grid. I think that's more than enough, maybe. I'm not sure. Oh, let's just gradually bring it up and not go too crazy. And yeah, that broke. Huh. It broke on the turn, so I'm gonna have to reload this. Alright, so I reloaded just to get the vehicle back, and I plopped on 2 batteries instead of 1 just to see how it works. And it looked like it broke when I turned it a bit when we were going quicker. So that was the downfall of it. So let's gradually bring this guy up now and see if we should have enough power now, but if we don't, we could probably just add more batteries. But I kind of want to see what the top speed is before it breaks on us. Alright, so it looks like we can go 13. Let's bring it up. Let's go. Let's see how it goes. Close to 14. Doing good. Bring it up slowly. Tap it every once in a while to increase the thrusting override. We had, let's see here, about 16. Not bad, not bad. We're getting there. We're about 17, hitting 18. Oh, we lost. There we go. So with that 20% connection, it looks like I lost it at about 17, close to 18 meters per second. So that is probably the downside of it. But let's see what I have next. Alright, so the last and final machine that I made is this guy. And what is this guy? The same thing, just with 5x5 wheels instead. Which was the biggest pain to make because it's very high off the ground. And it was extremely difficult to connect back without it making it explode. Alright, so here we go. This is the final test. Everything here is set at 20%, I believe. There we go. Actually, it wasn't. I'll set them at 20%. All the wheels, the 5x5 wheels, should be at 20%. I have that set up. Yep, everything's 5%, 20%. Again, it turns pretty well. Not a big deal at all. But driving it is the biggest thing. So this one is set the same thing. Again, I made the wheelbase a little bit longer just so we can actually put on the wheels. And yeah, it's a small grid attached to large grid wheels this way. So we have thrusters in the front, thrusters in the back, just to slow it down and stop it if we have to. We definitely do not need it. So let me get rid of the one in the front. So, and start this thing up to see how fast it can go. Alright, so actually before we do that, as we learned before, we actually top out in batteries. So let's just add 2 batteries right here and then start it. Alright, so now we go forward and 5x5 wheels. I don't know, it's huge. It's looks pretty decent on a small grid. It's like this thing's the tiniest thing but long, and it's kind of driving pretty well. It's actually hitting 15, 17. Oh wow, this thing is moving quick actually. So we're at 22 meters per second, a lot faster than the 3x3 wheels. and we're not breaking yet. So we're just gonna keep increasing it and see what happens. Alright, so we're hitting 25 and it's working perfectly well. When is it going to break? Right there. Roughly 24, 25. It fell off. So, I mean, there's a chance if you put it at 100%, it's not going to fall off. Maybe there's a sweet spot to it. I'm not sure. But we can definitely test that with some of the smaller ones that I have. Alright, since the 5x5 wheels hit about 25 meters per second on the speed with 20% strength on the connectors, I kind of do want to see, because this one rotated the best, what is the max speed if it is at 100% strength for each wheel and also the base. So I did that already, so let's just get this guy start rolling. So let's see what happens. I mean, I guess the worst part about this, you can't control like a suspension wheel. Oh, that came off pretty quickly. Now we're running a tripod basically. So I don't know what did that. It may have been a tree, but we can kind of still continue with the testing. And it looks like it fell apart again and actually blew up at around 25, 26 meters per second too. So that's the unfortunate part about it. So it looks like 20%, 100%, not a lot different than in terms of strength. So I don't think it really matters too much. I'm gonna go back to small grid and see if I could see if that makes any, if there's any difference there as well. Alright, so I have 3 spare ones I can try it on. Let's just do this one as 10. And we gotta do each individual as well, which is a pain. Okay, so all set. Same exact vehicle, nothing different except for strength in the connectors. We have 10% on this one, 50 on this one, and 100 on this one. So let's see how it rolls. Alright, so we're gonna have to, of course, put in our increase thrusting ride. I'm not gonna bother with decreasing it at this point. So let's see how much this one goes. Alright, so we're gonna do a slow roll. This is at 10%, so I'm pretty sure it'll fall off about the same. It looks like using the large wheel test. So let's see how it goes. Alright, so we're hitting 9. I think what's hit 14, it might pop off. I don't know. Let's see here. We hit 14. No, it proved me wrong. Okay. So we're spinning a bit now. We're hitting 26 and it just blew up at 26, which is pretty much the same as what we did for the large grid one, 5x5 wheels. So that's interesting. Alright, so let's just go on to the next one, 50% one, which is this guy here. So we just move this a little to the side. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so we can just do thruster override, so we can slowly push this guy over instead of me pressing forward. Alright, so let's just do that. Here we go, 50%. The last test, it blew up at 25, 26 meters per second, which sounds about right. Or sounds about normal for all the other wheels that I've tested so far. So let's slowly speed this up. Hopefully we don't hit a tree, which it looks like we might. Alright, so let's just slowly get this going. We're at 18. Oh, it blew up at 20. Huh, I'm not sure if there was a bump or not that did that, or that's just the way it works. 50% blew up pretty quick. Alright, so let's go to 100% really quickly and see how fast this thing kind of blows up. Alright, so thrusting override again. Let's go. Alright, so we're moving a little bit now. Hope we don't run into anything. It's a little wobbly, which is the worst part about it. And here we go. We're at 10. I think the last one just blew up at 14 for whatever reasons. We're at 100% now. This is at 14, 15. Yep. We were at 14, 15 before it completely blew up and started flying pretty quickly. So it looks like the higher the strength, the more likely it's gonna blow up and pretty much do that. Which is not ideal. So that is very interesting, to be honest. So it looks like the max speed on these connectors is about 25 meters per second. You definitely need to set them at a lower strength. Looks like 20, 10 and 10 were pretty decent, where if it's going too fast it just rolls off, to be honest, than actually blowing up. So I thought that was a pretty interesting test to see how connector wheels kind of works, which it kind of does. Alright, so that was kind of a random idea, kind of random experiment to kind of see if we can make connector wheels instead of our rotor wheels, our suspension rotor head wheels, and all those random wheels that I made previously. And I gotta say, it kind of does work. And of course, you just gotta go slow with them in a sense. And of course, the lower the strength, the better it acts in terms of the speed. The higher it is, the quicker it's gonna break, to be honest, from at least this experiment. If you're very curious on how I connected the connector wheels to the base, it was a bit of a struggle. So if you guys don't know how to do it, I can show you some tips. If you guys can make it to 100 likes on this video, I'll make an in-depth step-by-step of how I made each and every one of these connector wheels here. Also, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell. Feel free to leave us some comments. And of course, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.